Hello and welcome. This is Atul Wadkar, your instructor. In the last session we have discussed about the loops. We have talked about for loops and while loop in Python. We have discussed the syntax of both the loops, and also we have discussed two special statements inside the loops, that is break statement and continue statement. With the help of these two statements, it is possible to control the flow of the execution of your loops. In this lecture, we are going to discuss some example problems based on the for and while loop. So number one, we are going to print all the odd numbers and even numbers between 0 to 100, or even we can take some different values as well, like we can print all the odd numbers from 55 to 155. That can be our second assignment. Both the practicals we can complete using while loop and using for loop as well. After that, we'll design a basic calculator using while loop. So what we're going to do in this particular practical, so we are going to have addition, subtraction, multiplication and division as per user choice. So we'll ask user to enter his choice, and we can perform addition, subtraction, or the multiplication or division of any two numbers, and again we are going to repeat all those things in a loop. After that, we'll discuss a very simple program that we are going to print the table of any given number from the keyboard. For example, we'll ask the user to enter some number, and we'll store that number in some variable, and we'll try to find out the complete table of that number using for loop and while loop. So without wasting any time, let's start with the programming. So I'll open the programming software ideally. So this is how I'll type, and I'll wait some time for the software to open. Now here it is, the software has opened. Now I'll take a new file as usual, and here I want to print all the even numbers from 0 to 100. This is my assignment number 1. Now the number which is divisible by 2 is treated as even number, and the number which is not divisible by 2 is treated as odd number. Here we are going to discuss about the even numbers only, so I have to start from the 0. So this is my starting point. I is equals to 0. Now as I have to print all the even numbers from 0 to 100, that's why I'm taking the begin value as 0 or the initial value as 0. And this is the important statement as far as the while loop is concerned. This is critically important statement, as this particular line is going to initialize the statement, and it will be helpful in order to make entry inside the while loop. Now I'll write while I less than equals to 100, as the final value is 100, and the colon. Then what I can do, print I, and after that I can write I equals to I plus 2. Why 2? Because I have to print all the even numbers. Now this is I'm doing without using any special operator like modulus operator. Now simply I'm incrementing the value of I by 2, and that will print all the numbers, even numbers from 0 to 100. So in order to save this program, I'll click like this, and this is going to save this program. So I'll give some name. This is loop examples.py. I'll just replace that file. Now here we go. Now we have all the even numbers from 0 to 100. So it started with 0, then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on, and the final of printing all the even numbers from 0 to 100. Now what we can do, we can try another option as well. Now simply here before printing we can put a decision control as well. If I modulus 2 equals to 0, then only you print this thing. Then only you have to print this thing, otherwise you will not do anything you are going to. And secondly, the increment must be 1, it should not be 2. Okay. Now if I have to make increment as 1, and still I want to print all the even numbers from 0 to 100, so this thing I'll do. So initially what I'll do, I'll take I as a 0, and I'll compare that thing with the 100, whether it's less than or equal to 100. So yes, it is less than 100, and then I'll check this I modulus 2 is whether it is equals to 0 or not. If it is equals to 0, that means we can print this number, so I can print the I, and then it will be incremented by 1. So let's check this example as well. So once I run this again, you can find here that all the even numbers are printed in the same fashion, but the previous approach was quite simple and straightforward. Now in order to print all the odd numbers here, so what I can do here, this is for the even numbers. Now this is how I can print all the even numbers from 0 to 100. If I have to print all the odd numbers from 0 to 100, simply I have to make changes in this condition. So what I can do, I just write not equals to 0. If the number is divisible by 2, that means this I modulus 2 is equals to 0. And if number is not divisible by 2, that means this is not equals to 0. It can be 1. Okay. So if this is happening, then only I'll print that number. So in this case, we are expecting all the odd numbers from 0 to 100. And here we go. So this is how all the odd numbers from 0 to 100, so it will start from the 1, then 3, 5, 7 and so on, and it will print the 99 as the last number. Okay. Now one more thing what we can do instead of doing this kind of stuff, so this is a little bit complicated approach. If you see, so if I have to make a simple thing like this, will it work? Yes, it will work, but it should start with the 1, because the first odd number starts with the 1, not with the 0. So if we do like this also, it will print all the odd numbers from 1 to 99, or what we can say 0 to 100. So this is the first number as 1, which is the odd number, and the last number is 99. Okay. So this is how the simple while loop can be used to print all the odd numbers from 0 to 100 and all the even numbers from 0 to 100. Now we are going to do the same thing using for loop. Now this is done using while loop. In case of while loop, you have to make this initialization statement, then increment and decrement operator, and then print statement. Now if you see, there are at least 1, 2, 3 and 4 lines of code is required. Now is it possible to do the same thing within only 2 lines of code? Now if you have to do this, then the better option is for loop. So we can go with the for loop. So simply what you have to write, for I in range. Yeah, so simply you can write I in range from 0. So starting value is 0, the last value is 100, but as I have to consider 100, so it should be 101, because as you know, this particular index is not considered in case of the for loop or in case of this range function. And as I have to print all the even numbers, so the increment should be 2. So simply if I do, before that let me show you what will happen if I write like this only and then colon print I. Now this is only 2 lines of code, and we are going to run this code. Now in this case, all the numbers from 0 to 100 will get printed, and here we go. So without any hesitation, it has printed all the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on up to the last value is 100. Okay. Now by default the increment is 1. If you do not write anything here, the increment is by default it is 1. Now if you have to make a different increment, then you have to make here 2. Now this time the increment is 2, and if you print all the numbers from 0 to 101 with increment 2, you will get all the even numbers like this. So here you can check it out, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on, and the last value is 100. So this is how all the even numbers from the 0 to 100 can be printed like this. So without using any if statement or any modulus operator, we can do like this. If you want to use any modulus operator, still you can use here. In order to print all the odd numbers from, let's say 1 to 100 or 0 to 100, you have to start with the 1. Okay, if you start with 1, you will get all the odd numbers from 1 to 100 or 0 to 100. So it's 1, 3, 5, 7 and so on. The last value is 99 because the 100 is the even number. So this is how very in a very simple manner you can print all the even numbers from 0 to 100 and all the odd numbers from 0 to 100 as well. Additionally, if you want the increment to be 1 and if you want to starting value as to be 0, then you can use your if statement or decision control statement, and again as usual I modulus 2, if it is equals to 0, then it can print all the even numbers from, and of course you have to give some indentation here, and then you can run this. So here we go, all the even numbers, you can check it out, 0, 2, 4, 6, and if you have to print the odd number, simply reverse the condition and just hit the run command, and this is how all the odd numbers from 1 to 100 or 0 to 100 is printed on the screen. So this is how using if statement you can print even and odd numbers using while and for loop. And as we are printing only even and odd numbers, we need not use even the if statement. The simple approach is just wisely choosing the increment and initialization statement. So here in case of for loop, it's very simple that you can print like this only. Okay, so coming back to our next practical, this thing, that printing all the odd numbers from 55 to 155. Now initially we are starting with 0 to 100, so it was quite easier approach. Now we are trying to print from this random number to this random number. So is it going to be a possible thing? Yeah, it's definitely possible thing. So as we are having the code for for loop only, so we can start from the for loop. So I have to print from 55 to 155. So if I have to write 156 in that case, and if I save like this and run, then you will get all the odd numbers from 55, see 55, 57, 59 to the last value is 155, which is the odd number again. So here just have to change this thing and this thing. Now if you have to print all the even numbers from this 55 to 155, then what you can do here, you can simply do like this, and you can check it out. This is how the 56 is the first even number and 154 is the last even number between 55 to 155. Secondly, if you are not interested to write this if statement, then you can simply remove this if statement from here, and you can actually give some different increment. For example, if you want to print all the odd numbers from 55 to 156 or from 55 to 155, just put increment by 2, and this time it will print all the odd numbers from 55 to 155. If you have to print all the even numbers from 55 to 155, in that case, as you know, the first even number is 56, so this is how you'll write, and here we go, this is how you will get all the even numbers from 56 or what you can say from 55 to 155. Okay, so this is how you can use the for loops to do such tasks. Even if you want to print this thing in reverse order, for example, if you want to write this and like this, simply by putting increment by 2 will not work. Why? Yeah, as you can say, the triple arrow has appeared, that means execution is terminated and nothing is printed, because this is happening in 156 to 56 and increment is 2. So after 156 it will try to increment by 2, so it will be 158, and that number is not in this particular range, so immediately the for loop will be terminated. So what you can do here, you can put a minus sign, and here you can check it out, that everything is happening in a reverse fashion. So 156, it is starting with 156 and the last value is 58. Why 58? Because this is the 56, so it will go after 56 only. So in that case, if you want to do like this, then you should write here 54, and as we are not expecting from 156, we are expecting from 54, so in this case from 155 to 55, all the even numbers will be considered. And here we go. So the first number is 56 and the last number is 154. So if you are doing like this, then you need to remember that in case of range function of for loop, the second index is not included in the print, or it's not included in this particular range, and that thing you have to take in your consideration while writing any code using this range function or the for loop. Now, can we do the same thing using the while loop? Yes, definitely we can do this. So for example, I have to print all the odd numbers from 55 to 155. So I'll write this I is equals to 55, and then while I is less than equals to 155. Okay, and then you can simply print I and increment I equals to I plus 2. This is how we can put an increment, and here we go. We can print all the odd numbers from 55, 57, 59 up to 155 using while loop as well. So this is how the while loop can be used. So it's very much interesting thing for the even numbers, and then you can also try for reversing the order. So in case of this loop, if you want to reverse it, so you can write 155 here, and here it should be greater than equal to, not the less than, and then 55, and here it should be I minus 2. Okay, these things you have to take into consideration. This is how you will build logic. And here we go. Now it is printing from 155 to 55 in reverse fashion, all the odd numbers. If you want to go with the even numbers, then it will start from 154, and again it will be greater than equals to 55 only, because the first number is 54, and this is how it can print in reverse fashion. So I hope it is clear how to print the even numbers and odd numbers from one number to another number using for and while loop, and also the logic behind for and while loop will be more clear using these examples. Now coming back to our third practical, and which is very much interesting. Now what we are going to do, we are going to display a menu for the user that and we'll ask the user to choose some operator. So in this particular practical, what we are going to do, we are going to design a calculator, basic mathematical calculator, and that calculator will have facilities of performing addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of any two numbers. So initially we'll take the user input, that please enter any two numbers, and after that we'll display a menu card to that user that he has to pick some option from that menu card. After that we can have a decision control statement, and then we'll try to put everything in a loop. So let's build logic for this program. So this is number one, or in order to make simplicity, I'll take a and b. A equals to int input. Okay, now this is how we take input from the user. So enter the value of a. Okay, this is how I can write here, and then I can write a second number, b equals to int input, and just simply write enter the value of b. Okay, this is how I'll write like this. Then I have to display some menu card, so I write print, simply I can write 1 for addition. Okay, in order to make it simple, I'll use multiple print statements instead of single print statement. Otherwise you can add a /n character also inside the print function. So it is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, and this is the subtraction. Okay, and this thing is the multiplication. Okay, and this thing is division. So choice 3 is division. Okay, right click this, And what we can you can even make some decorative thing like this, and this thing, and this is the menu that you have to choose in between from this menu, and this is how you can write like this. So hereafter the user has to enter his choice, and that can be taken. So here what we can do, so choice equals to int input enter your choice. Okay, now the user has to enter something, okay, here, and that will be stored in this particular choice variable. Now initially what you have to do is if this choice equals to 1, that means if user enters the 1, then what you have to do, you just have to perform addition of two numbers, and you just have to print. So I just simply print a plus b, as this is the choice. Then else if the choice is equals to 2, then print this thing a minus b. And the next thing, if the choice equals to 3, in this case I have to perform the multiplication a star b, okay. And finally if the choice is equals to 4, then in this particular case I have to print the division. So here a divided by b, this is how I'll print. And else if the user enters any other value, then I have to display print invalid choice. So this choice is invalid. So this is how the simple program will look like, and up till now we haven't done anything different. We have just taken two different values from the user, then we have displayed this menu, and then user has to put any value from 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will be stored in a choice variable. Then we are using this decision control statement, which I have previously studied, that if the choice is equals to 1, then we'll print this thing, and if the choice is equals to 2, then we'll print the subtraction, and if the choice is equal to 3, we'll print the multiplication of these two numbers, and if the choice is equal to 4, we'll print division. And for any other choice, for example if user enters 5, then in that case invalid choice will be displayed. Okay, now this is technically correct, and this is the simple program for calculator, but this is going to execute only for once, and that's why we are going to take help of loops. Also we can decorate this thing. So here I can write addition equals to, and then comma, and here I can write subtraction equals to comma this thing, and here I can write multiplication equals to, then comma this value, and finally the division, sorry, this thing and this thing, then comma, like this. So firstly let us test this program whether it's working. So let's run this. So if I click F5, then it will ask the first value, let's say 10, second value let's say 5, then it is displaying this menu as usual, this 1 for addition, 2 for subtraction, then 3 for multiplication, and 4 for division. Now I have to enter my choice. For example, if I enter 3, which is the multiplication, now it should display the multiplication equals to 50, and here we go. So we are getting the correct result, but after that the program is getting terminated, so it is not re-executing the program, so it's not actually repeating itself. Now what we can do in order to repeat this program, we can actually put a while loop here. So if I write a while loop and then 1, or simply you can write true also, 1 or true, anything is okay, and after that I can shift all these statements. So by selecting all the statements and just simply shifting towards the right. Now this I have done using control plus the square bracket. Okay, control plus the square bracket. So the shifting has accomplished. So I write here from this key, the shortcut key is control plus this bracket. Okay, sorry, this thing. So if you press like this, and the selected instructions will be shifted towards right by some space. Okay, this is how I can make a indentation for while loop, because while loop needs indentation. If I say all these things are, or these instructions are the part of this while loop, then I should provide some indentation to each and every statement, and this is possible by using control plus the square bracket. Now I can run this and let's check what difference this single line is going to make in our program or in our project. So let's run this. So it is asking number, so 10, then I am entering 5, then it's asking enter your choice, let's say 2. Now subtraction, so subtraction equals to 5. So here I got the result, but again it is asking for 2 numbers, so 12 and 5, and then I can enter let's say 5. So it is invalid choice. Okay, it is showing invalid choice, but still it is asking 2 numbers. So again I can enter 2 numbers like this, and then I can have the addition, and then again addition has performed, and again it is asking for 2 numbers. So it is never ending program. It will run for infinite number of times as long as the shell window is running. So this is also some problem is solved, that we are able to repeat the calculator. We are going to perform the operations again and again, but still this is an infinite calculator, is never going to end. So this is also we are not expecting. So what we can do here, we can ask the user to enter his choice. For example, here we can write the repeat R variable. So I'll take R as a repeat variable, int, and here we can write this thing, input, and we can write enter 1 to repeat again. Okay, so we are asking user, so please enter 1 so that we can repeat. If he enters any other value than the 1, and it will exit the program. So the value of R is taken here, and what we are supposed to do, instead of while true, I should write here R equals to 1, this condition. If the R is equals to 1, then only you have to repeat this thing, but it should at least repeat for once, because initially, now let's before I make any changes, let me show you what will happen. If I write like this thing, still there is a problem, because this R is not defined previously and its value is unknown. This is getting defined only inside the while loop. That's the problem. So this is the problem with this particular example, or in this particular arrangement. So we need to rectify that also. But before that, that actual problem I'll show you here. So if I hit F5, immediately it is showing this name error, that name R is not defined. That's why it is not going to execute anything after this statement. So what I can do here, I can declare R equals to 1. Initially it should be 1, so that as the R is initially 1, that means it will automatically go inside this while loop, and it will, as the R is 1, but whenever it will execute this thing, it will ask the user enter 1 to repeat again. If I enter 1, then only this thing will repeat, and after that automatically the execution will stop. So let's check this thing. So I enter 10 and the second number is 5, and it is asking to enter my choice. Let's say I want to have a multiplication, so I enter 3, so I got the multiplication. Now it is asking enter 1 to repeat. So if I enter 1 here, it will again ask the 2 numbers. So it is asking, let's say this time I'll 12 and this is 5, and I want the division this time. So I got division result, and now it is asking please enter 1 to repeat again. So this time I don't want to repeat this thing, so I'll put 0 or any other number you can put, like 5, 6 or anything. So after entering 0, if I hit enter, automatically the execution is stopped. You can see this triple arrow. So this is how this can be used, and this is now a very good calculator, what we can say here. So we have the 4 different options, and we are actually entering 2 numbers from the keyboard, and the calculator is able to perform these operations based on the user choice. And again, how long it will work, and that is also controlled by this user input. So this is how the while loop is unique in terms of the operation. And in case of such problems, you should prefer while loop instead of for loop, because the for loop is not suitable for such kind of applications. But for printing all the even numbers from 0 to 100 or all the odd numbers from 1 to 100, so this such kind of countered base mechanisms, the for loop is quite suitable, and we can go with the for loop in such cases because it needs minimum number of lines of codes in order to do the same task. Now the next practical that we are going to discuss is again very much interesting practical. That's what we are going to do. We are going to have a table of a number if somebody enters some number from the keyboard. So let's say I take a number variable, and for this number I have to find out the table. So what I can do, int, and I'll ask input, and here I can write enter a number. So I'm asking user to enter some number. Now I have to find out the table for this number. So in that case I should write here I equals to 1, and initially I'll do this using the while loop, while I less than equals to 10, because the table, the final value is multiplied by 10, and simply I have to write print I star num. See, and after that I need to increment this I equals to I plus 1. This is how I can find the table of this number. Okay, now what will happen? Initially the value of I is equals to 1, but the number is, or this num will hold the whatever value user has entered. Now initially this I is less than equal to 10, so it's 1, so 1 is less than equal to yes, so 1 into num, that will be printed, and after that this I is incremented to 2. Now 2 into num, and this is how it will work. So let's say we try to find out the table of 5. So just run this and enter 5, and here we go, we have the table of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 and 50, like this. Okay, or any other number you can actually go with. So if I have to go with let's say any number, let's say I want to find out these table of 33, which is very much and I don't remember this table as well. So here we go, you can get the table of 33 as well. So 33 ones are 33, 32s are 66, and 33s are 99, and so on. So this is how you will be able to find out the table of any number which you have to print. Okay, now this we have done using the while loop. So is it possible to do the same thing using for loop? Yes, definitely you can try this thing using for loop as well. So up to this everything is going to be same, and here what we can write, for I in range. Okay, and then initial value is 1, the final value is 10, so I have to write here 11 because this is not going to include the 11, and simply you have to write here print num I star the num, and this is how, sorry, I have missed this brackets, num, and this will also going to print all the table of given number. So let's check it out. So 5, so here we go, the table of 5 is front of you. Now as we can see, this is like it's in the range from 1 to 10. If I write only 11 like this, will it work, or will it going to print the table of this number? Yes, it's going to actually print the table, but it will start from the 0. That will be only problem if you do not write the starting value, because if you write like this, the initial value is treated as 0 and the table is printed like this. So this is how we can print the table of number using for loop and while loop. So hope all the examples are clear to you, and I think the for loop and while loop we have discussed in more details, and the syntax you must have understood properly. Okay, so this was all about for today's session. So we have discussed about the for loop, while loop, its syntax, and how to use it in programming. So in the next lecture we'll are going to discuss the advanced data structures in Python, like list, tuple, sets and dictionaries. So we'll understand everything about the collection data type or sequence data types in Python, which are list, tuple and sets and dictionary. These are very much interesting to understand, and also they are very much helpful in advanced Python programming. So stay connected with me, and thanks for watching.